What's going on, sports fans? We continue our coverage of high school sports right now, where everybody is sitting at home missing sports and talking about the things that they miss. And we're talking to the top recruits and the best players in San Diego. And Maurice Holmes from Helix is one of those. He is committed to go play at Fresno Pacific basketball next season. Thank you very much, my man, for being on. Congratulations on your decision. Talk to us about what went into that process for you.
Thank you for having me on. Just the recruiting process, just went through it. I just try to go through it and just try to look at all the different schools and just look at like things like not just the basketball wise, but academics and how I would fit in like in the city of where I would be at. So it's just a lot of things. And then I just developed a really good relationship with Coach Haydock and Coach Dyke and Coach McClurg, the coaches at Fresno Pacific. And we've had a good relationship since my sophomore year, so almost 3 years, going on 2 years. So I just developed a really good relationship with them, and then I decided to commit, I think like 10 days or 7 days after my official visit, because I just loved it so much there. And it was just a great fit, so I just decided to commit there in September, and I just signed in November.
It can be a little bit of a grind to get to that point where you're even taking visits and interacting with coaches on that kind of a level. Like you mentioned, academics, athletics, it's all this big process. What would be some key advice you would give to freshmen, sophomores, kids that are just starting down that road? If you could go back and tell yourself that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Even 8th graders and 7th graders, I mean, I would just give the advice that I would give to anyone is just like stay true to the grind and just like if you have the love for the game, just focus on your love for the game and getting better every day. Like try not to focus on or don't focus at all on no accolades, no offers, nothing like that, because everything is going to come if you have love for the game and if you just work hard. So you just got to do what you love and just keep going day by day, and then everything will work out itself.
You talk about having that grind and that true love for the game. You had to play a season on the road with no home gym, and I'm sure that at two seasons that it didn't want to necessarily drag every last little bad detail about that out. But yeah, that's brutal, man. So what was that? I mean, that's going to be a very unique memory for you and nobody else really in high school sports. So what has that grind been like? How much of a test has that been for you?
I mean, definitely it was a test, definitely, but I mean, I like going into hostile environments and playing away and not like feeling comfortable in my home gym because I just like rise to the occasion when I'm in like other environments that I haven't been in before.
Okay, so let me ask you this then, and I know that I'm putting you a little bit on the spot, so let's do the full disclaimer and asterisks. This is just an impromptu conversation. We have not planned out any of this beforehand, so if somebody gets left out of this conversation, no disrespect meant. But if I had to have you rank maybe the top 5 gyms that you enjoy playing in terms of that hostile environment that really gets you fired up and who does it right, whatever the criteria you are, can you give us maybe top 5 gyms that you like going into?
Top 5 gyms. I'd say definitely number one, the USD atmosphere was crazy. That was crazy freshman year. Because that was just a CIF championship.
So I was going to say, he's talking about a CIF championship game there. Okay, so we'll throw that in there. That's always nuts for anybody that gives it. So some road experiences, regular season games, who does it right?
And then regular season games, I'd probably I'd say Grossmont was definitely up there because this is a rivalry between us and them. So they always had a good showing out, and that was always a good environment playing there. And then I'd say probably San Marcos, definitely. Probably number 1, honestly. I'd say LCC, that was pretty good. All those North County schools. Mount Miguel, really good atmosphere because crosstown rivalry. And for the last one, I'd probably say, honestly, I'd probably say when we went to, where do we go? Sweetwater.
Oh, okay. There you go. Surprise pick. That was a twist ending, well worth the dramatic pause there. And we'll go with he planned that all out.
Think of the tournament that we played in.
The Sweetwater Gym, tad bit terrifying though. With that big devil up on the wall.
That's definitely.
What was that your first time playing there? It's a little bit of a you walk in and you're like, whoa.
I played there every year because we played a tournament there every season. But yeah, definitely, and just the distance between the rim and the backdrop was like 50 feet, so it's like weird shooting there too.
Well, okay, so that's a real thing though, and often comes up in championship games because sometimes people don't play at USD all season long. They don't play with that kind of a depth.
Exactly.
In the last couple of years, high school championship games, just due to scheduling conflicts and money availability, have started to be played in high school gyms. San Marcos, Mira Mesa. I have always said that's good for the shooters because that's how the shooters are trained. So you don't have guys that are taking the first quarter of a championship game to figure things out. Exactly. As somebody for yourself, though, that did play in that environment and in that arena, would you still trade off a little bit of that shooting ability for that experience? Would you rather have played in a high school gym? What are your thoughts on that?
Honestly, I loved it. I loved that. That helped my game a lot. Like going in there and like just being there. Like
so the intangibles of being at USD and having that experience kind of outweighed the negatives of the basket and the hoop, the depth perception is a little bit off.
Definitely. I mean, it all at the end of the day it comes down to basketball. It's just basketball.
So for just basketball, what have you been doing in your life? Basketball, I mean, I'm assuming you can set up a hoop and still sort of play. Everyone's got to play a nice cushy zone defense right now, though, to stay 6 feet away from each other. What have you been doing?
Yeah, I just built a basketball hoop in front of my front yard a couple of days ago with my brother. So we just built that, and now I'm able to get my 300 shots every day. So that's good. I love that.
Okay, so 300 shots a day. How many dunks a day?
Right now probably 20. I don't know, just a little bit.
Okay, so can you
save my legs?
Okay, I'll respect the save the legs, but how about on behalf of a very entertainment starved San Diego, can you put something fun together for us in the front yard dunk wise and get us something on Instagram?
Definitely. I will soon. Definitely.
Come up with something creative. Do something fun to cheer everybody up, and let's get that going. Because I know in the regular season you put up a couple of. Is it still called posters? Body bag?
Body bags.
What are catching body? What are some of the good terms, basketball insult wise, for when you do something like that to somebody?
On his head, dunking on his head. Body, yeah, those two.
It's a funny thing how quick basketball goes from a finesse shooter to just I'm going to slash at this person and I'm going to embarrass this person and we're going to. So I mean, I'm talking about a couple of clips though, but that's a decent part of your whole game. Introduce yourself a little bit, or maybe talk about what you'd like to bring to the Fresno Pacific roster as a player, in your freshman year.
I mean, this year coming in, my incoming freshman year, they have a lot of seniors, so they're really experienced, and I'm really good friends with all the guys. So they're really just gonna bring me in. I'm just gonna learn a lot from them, and I'm just gonna bring that offensive threat that we need, and just the ability to shoot the ball and catch and shoot. Because I know we have a lot of playmakers that on our team already. So I just know I'm just gonna have to be able to have it locked and loaded and just ready to shoot.
Talk about the competitive environment you're coming from at Helix. You've obviously played in one championship run team. You've made yourself an invaluable piece of league runs. You've had great basketball success, but you've also just been around open division football. You've been around open division baseball. Just talk about being on that inside, because not a lot of people get to. They only see Helix as something on Twitter that they don't understand, and you've been inside of it. Talk a little bit about that culture that you're coming from.
I mean, yeah, the culture is just crazy. All my best friends, I have friends at Utah playing baseball, friends at Oregon playing basketball, Arizona State playing basketball. So, at Helix, it's just all across the board. They have straight athletes, every sport. So you can just learn something from every other sport, and learn stuff that they do that differently that you don't do. So I learned a lot from like football players and baseball players. So like the culture at Helix is just a winning culture, and just it's just great.
Your coach has been a part of that culture for a very long time. Any funny stories, good stories, memorable stories you can tell us about Coach real quick?
I mean, I've had a lot of stories, but probably one of the biggest ones was was it? Yeah, it was the beginning of this year. So like, but during the off season, like when we just started practicing in November, and I showed up like 2 minutes late to a practice, and he's always been on me because I've been a captain and a leader on the team since sophomore year. So I've never been able to be late, and I showed up late to one of the first practices senior year, and he was mad, and I didn't know what the punishment was going to be, but before practice he told me wait after practice, and then after practice I went over there and he had me get on the track at like 7 or 8 p.m. and I ran a mile at like it was like 50 degrees. It was freezing winter weather. I was out there with just a jersey on. I'll remember that forever.
Sounds like a moment out of a movie. You and Coach alone on that empty field running a mile in the cold. Other than a little bit of basketball work or a lot of basketball work, if you're taking 300 shots a day, what have you been up to?
Watching a lot of film, just picking a lot of stuff up from guys like Clay and Kobe, KD. Like those are my three favorites. So I just
okay. So let me ask you about
guys.
watching film and watching basketball, because obviously today's basketball is different than 1920s, 1950s, but today's basketball is also a little bit different than 1990 even. You know, the rules are physically, allowing people to interact differently. So do you watch footage from those eras and actually take things away from that game, or do you just watch and be like, oh, that's cool, Michael Jordan makes cool shots, they're fun to watch? Do you still learn stuff from that game? Can you even translate that stuff into what today's basketball is like? How do you consume basketball?
Oh yeah, I consume all types of basketball, all the way back to the 70s. But definitely the game has changed. But I definitely still take a lot of stuff from Reggie Miller's one of the big guys like that I watch, because I just know like the energy that he brings to the game, that's like forever in basketball, engraved in basketball. So like especially his ability to catch and shoot the ball too. So that's one of the guys that I watch with his footwork and his energy that he brings to the game.
Reggie is definitely one of my favorites, because anybody that can get into Spike Lee's head, get into one of the fans' heads in the middle of a game, and then still turn and keep draining threes. You have to have that mental edge.
You have to have a great. That's Mamba mentality.
You absolutely have to have that. Any video games? Are you like playing 2K to still get your basketball fix, or do you
play
get
2K? I just started my career a couple weeks ago, so my player is like a 91 overall. I've been playing that. It's fun.
What other any other games, or are you not that big into video? Are you a Netflix guy?
I'm like a YouTube guy. Like
okay.
I just watch a bunch of film and then watch like Gilbert Arenas every day.
Okay, so give us so Gilbert Arenas. Are there any other podcasts or channels that you want to suggest to people out there? Because I think everyone's starved for fun and new things to experience.
Yeah, definitely. If you love basketball, you want to like increase your IQ of the game and like just get other small tips from guys. I would suggest the No Chill podcast, Knuckleheads with Darius Miles and Quinn Richardson, and the Showtime one with All the Smoke with Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes.
Okay, so what you kind of mentioned there is a trend about less of me existing and more of you existing, and players being empowered to go and host their own stuff and produce their own stuff because they don't need, the guys like me that didn't play the game and yada, yada. So promise us this: in a couple of years, when you're done with your playing career, or in a decade or in 2 decades, or whenever you're done with your playing career, that you'll come back and grace us with a little bit of high school sports podcasting.
Definitely.
Deal.
I might get into that.
Deal. Okay.
I got you.
It'll be after your NBA years are all done and you've won a couple of championships and whatnot, so you can kind of just come and go as you please, and we'll let you talk to all the kids and whatnot.
For sure.
Maurice, thank you so much for joining us, folks. lot of top recruits like this guy right now need your positive vibes, because everyone in the high school world is just kind of chilling at home, not knowing what's going on. And a lot of seniors are, we're worried about sports, but they also, I'm sure they want prom back and they want graduation and they got all that kind of stuff on their mind. So a lot of stress there. Send them your positive vibes, but stay at least 6 feet away from them. No hugs. No consoling anybody with the hugs. Hit us up with that dunk, man, whenever you're ready to entertain San Diego. Thank you so much for being on with us, folks. We'll talk to you soon.